Hello, good evening, guys. Welcome to my new YouTube video. In this video, we'll be discussing about the C++ course. Before we have made into videos on C++ course, this should be our third video. First video was the basic introduction of C++ and what are the contents present in it and applications. And we can see here in video 2, I have discussed the structure and all these functions. And in video 3, I'll be discussing all about the functions. All the coding part, because introduction was also completed in one and the second part. But in this video, we'll be discussing only about the problems and objects with the help of objects and classes. We are going to define the problem, and we are going to insert the parameters to the member functions and receive it. And we are going to send the class step parameters, and then we are going to receive it. And the first question will be our inline and outline member functions. Okay, let's move on to coding part. Here I'm using dev C++. Okay, let me take this. So our first question is inline and outline member functions, right? So within a class, a member functions can present inside the class or outside the class, but the definition should be inside the class. For example, if you are going to use when we are going to use the member function outside the class is the first question, right? Because it is also present in our class, so that's no need for writing the code outside the class, right? But whenever the our code is complex, if there are more lines, if it is complex, if there is present if that is present in our class, that may be very complex for the class to make things in a simple, in a sequential manner. Because if you make that into the another function, then it would make easy. With the help of simple calling, we are going to go that function without running into the same class. That will make it complex, so that's why we are going to use outline member functions. So I'll be making a simple example of inline member function. What is the inline member function, and after that I'll be showing an outline member function. So let's write it. Hash stream using namespace std class, for example test. I hope you are clear with what I'm writing. First, we are going to use the IO stream, input output stream. Yesterday we have discussed about this, and using namespace std is we don't have to use every time a scope operator and std for every in or out. That's why we are going to use using namespace std. This is only in our dev C++. If you are going to use in turbo and turbo C++, for further versions, we don't have to use using namespace std also. Here we have created a class name of test, and in that we have read that in class the default access member specifiers are private, right? So integer a and b are private in our class. Okay, so to access this, we are going to take an member functions with the help of public, because always the member function should be in public class. Void get ab. So c out enter a and b, c in a, c in b. Okay, here we are read the values. Now our second member function is void put. So we are going to simply print the elements in our whatever the elements present. The values of a and b are c out a equals to a, c out b equals to b. Okay, so we are going to close the class with a semicolon. After that, in the main function we are calling our class is test, right? And objects are always created from the class name. Okay, from test I'll take T. So if I'm going to get the values from a user, so I'll be first going to the get class, get member function. After that, whenever we are with the help of dot operator, we are going to connect the class member function and an object we have discussed in the last video, right? I mean, what are the operators and how we are going to connect them. So dot operator helps with the connection of our here object to a member function. So t dot get means it will directly move on to this function. It will print enter a and b. So after that we are going to pass the parameters for 10 and 20. For example, if you are passing 10 and 20 in a and b, it will store it. After that, if you want to print it, we are going to use the put function. For example, new one. Okay, here I am printing 10 and 20 and the values of A and B are 10 and 20. So this is called as inline. I mean, all the member functions are inside our class, right? So it is called as inline. It's called inline member functions. So I mean, what is difference between inline and outline? We can ask, right? So simple. I'll be taking into this new. Okay, this is running fine. So in outline member function, we are going to define the we are going to define a member function inside our class, but we are not going to use the all the remaining part in our class. So for example, see, this is our definition section. I'll be removing this, and after the class we are going to simply write void is the first the return type of a member function. For put, void is a return type, and we are going to use the class name, and then with the help of scope operator and the function name. So in this we are going to write a code part. So that's how you use a member function or outside the class. Let me indent it properly. Okay, that's it. Before we have seen that put function is totally inside a class, but here we have taken the put function outside the class. Okay, with the help of scope operator, it gets connected with a class. So that's it. Let's run and check it if it's working or not. So everything is fine. So 10 and 20 will be my parameters. The values of A and B are 10 and 20. That's it. See, we can use member functions inside the class or outside the class. That is the main motto of this code. Two examples. Let's move on to another question. What are member functions with parameters? Okay, here we have not sent any type of parameters to our member functions, right? Simply we are going to get the values from user with the help of cin. If you want to send the member function to with the help of parameters, that's how. So for that, member functions with parameters. If you don't want to every time ask for the user, if you want to simply change it in a main function, so that's with the help of this we can use it simply. String using namespace std, and then class, for example employee, integer salary, integer id, character name, employee name, and then float is will be salary. So because employee have its own, I mean, private data, right? So these are all written in a private, I mean, because it is default access specified in our class is private, so all the data is in private. So if you want to access, we are going to use a public function, I mean, member function in the public access specifier. So for example, void get, we are going to get the values of id, and then for example enter I, and then character name of 10 blocks for example, and then float of basic. So before we have used only single member function inside our class, right? So in this example I'll be using both the member function outside the class. So get and put, that's it, closing the class with a semicolon. So first we are going to get the these values, right? So first, I mean, I'm writing this member function outside the class, right? So first void, and then class name, and with the help of scope operator and a member function name. So it is same everything, integer I, character name, and then float basic. So from main function we are going to get the passing the parameters to it. So whatever the IDs here present, it will get copied into here. And here character name is present, right? We cannot directly simply assign it. So with the help of string function, string header files hash include string dot h, we are going to copy the one string into another with the help of string copy. Here with the help of this pointer we are going to copy into one another ename this, ename comma to name, I mean whatever the name present here we are going to copy in that this dot name. Okay, looks good. And then salary would be basic. Okay, we have write a member function outside the class. Okay, that is great. Now again we are going to write put also outside the member function, right? So first put return data type is void, and then the class name emp, and with the help of scope operator, and then we are going to use the put function. So here we'll simply print all the elements present in our program. Kernel cout employee name, and then cout salary. Okay, we have declared two member functions outside the class. So with the help of main function we have to pass the parameters to a member function. So first we'll create an object employee. So employee dot get, we have to pass the parameters for, right, for first integer, I mean first id, for example id would be 100, and for string I'll be writing Alicia, and for salary for example float, okay, 200 point, 20,000 point, for example 5. Okay, we have passed the parameters to a member function, right? So it will whatever the element, for example 100 is I, right? So in id I will be stored. What is id? Id is the class data variable, so id will be stored here. And then character name, this dot name, with the help of this dot name it will get copied into this name, this e name. And whatever the basic we are going to send, that is copied in the salary. I mean whatever the elements we are going to pass parameters, that will be storing into a direct private data members of our class. So this is an another function. So after that we have to simply print it e dot put. Okay, let's run this. let us write here the values are from string to constant. Okay, 100 is a ID, and Alicia is my name that I have written in the form of string. It also takes the spaces, and my salary is 2 lakh. So it is working perfect. So whatever the parameters I'm going to send to the member function, it gets copied here, and with the help of our data variables that we are simply assigning whatever the parameters that we are going to share, it will copy here, and with the help of put function we are printing it. Okay, that is second example. And how to receive the values from member function. Okay, so we are going to send the parameters to the member function, right? So this is the we are going to send the parameters. So how do we are going to receive it? So let's check that. I'll be copying this because from up to here is everything is same. There is no need of name here, and integer a comma b, I'll be printing this one. Okay, in public void get C out, enter a comma b. So here we are going to give values a and b. Here we are not going to send any parameters. So here in this example we are going to receive the parameters from a member function. Okay, receive parameters from member function. Okay, up to here everything is fine. So we have to write we have to send the parameters to a member function, right? For example, here I'm using sum of two variables, I mean data members. So what would be the output? My output would be integer, right? So the return data type would be integer. Sorry, I'll be writing this function outside the class, so it would be outline member function. I'll be simply writing the this class member function definition. Okay, void get is perfect, and I'm going to write the function outside the class. So integer, and class name is my emp, and with the help of put function. Put is out. Okay, okay, sum is perfect. Okay, here I'm returning a plus b. So we are having a and b in our object, right? So whenever we are calling object this sum function, it will simply returning a plus b value. So that's it. Into main employee. So we are calling e dot get, and then we are printing e dot sum, calling e dot sum, but we have to store some value whenever we are getting return value. So we have to store it for in a variable, right? So that's why we are using x. The sum is x. Okay, everything is fine. Let's run it. Okay guys, we are going to enter the value 10 and 20, and our value should be 10 and 30. Our sum will be 40. That's it. 30 plus 10 is equals to 40. I mean, the return function is working perfectly. I mean, whenever we are going to send the parameters to the member function, and through member function we are going to get the sum of a and b, and whenever it is returning sum of a and b, we are going to catch it from our main function with the help of any integer. If the sum is integer, we are going to write integer. If it is float, we are going to write the float. So with that, we are going to catch it in a simple primary data variable, and we are going to print that. Okay, that's it. And receive the values from member function is okay. And a fourth question is send the class type or object type parameters to the member function. Here before we have set the member functions only to the only with the help of what do we say, variables, right? For example, into floater and characters, right? But here now we are going to set the parameters with the help of objects, object type. For example, objects s1 and s2 are present, right? So we are going to pass the s2 object. So I'll be writing and explaining. Let me take this. Okay, no issues. I'll write it using namespace std. Okay, class will be my big. Okay, class sample int a public. I'm going to read the value of a, get cin of a. Okay, perfect. After that, I'm going to check if a and b in I'm going to create two different objects. So void big. I'm making this member function outside the class. So void is my return type, and a class is my sample. And with the help of scope operator, I'm going to connect those sample and big. Okay, looks fine. So after before that, I'll be entering into my main function. I'm going to create two objects. For example, sample s1 and s2. Okay, I've created two objects s1 and s2. I'm going to call s1 dot get. In s1, a is called. For example, in s1, a equals to 10. So I'm going to read same for s2, s2 dot get. So I have two objects, and in two objects a value is different, right? For example, in object 1 value is 10. For example, in object 2 value is 20. So I want to check if s1 of object is great, object present in a, the variable member present in our object, which one is greater. So for that, we are going to send the parameter. For example, s1 dot big of s2. Okay, here we are going to send the object type parameter, right? So here we are going to get the parameter, so we have to declare it sample s2 and sample s2. That's it. So here s1 is, with the help of s1 we are going to get to the function, but here we are passing the object type parameter. So if a is greater than a means our s1, and s2 dot a means our s2 dot uh, s2's a. So I'll be printing first object, first variable in first object is greater. Okay, else see out second variable, second variable in second object is greater. Okay, everything looks fine. So let's move on to compilation. 5. Okay, we are going to insert the elements. For example, I'm 30 and 40. So second variable 40 is greater, right? So second variable in second object, I mean it is s2, right? We are going to send the parameters for s2. Okay, let me write more clear. C out, enter a value. So first I'm writing, for example, 15, and for another object I'm going to write 10. So our 50 will be highest value, right? So a is first, I mean first object, s1 is greater. So that's it. I mean how we are going to send object type class parameters, right? I mean objects, we are simply direct passing the objects as arguments. So before that we are going to send the predefined data types, integer, float and character, but here we are going to send the object type parameters. So this is one example. If you want to get the what if you want to our next question is, that is receive class type or object type parameters. Sorry, if you are going to, we are sending the object type, right? Then how we are going to get the object or class type uh, parameters, I mean in the return type. Here in this example, before example, we have said that only we are going to return the sum. I mean for example, int a plus b, that would be int only, right? So here it would be new case again. So hash include IO stream using namespace std. Then again I'm going to create a class. This class would be multiplication, for example, integer a comma b will be multiplying a and b, and then public void get function, where we are going to get the read the values, enter a comma b, c in of a, c in of b. Okay, here we have read a and b values, right? So I'll be printing this value outside our class. So and one more main thing, here we are going to return the object type parameters, right, or class type parameters. So the return type should be same name as the class name. So multi or is a return type, and we are going to, for example, multiplication is a class name, and this is a member function name. So we are writing this outside, right? Here we are going to send write two different parameters, I mean two different objects, for example multi m1, and we are going to write multi m2, because we are going to pass two different parameters. So that's why. So as we have said that the return type should be same name as class name, so multi, and whatever the class name is again multi, and with the help of scope operator we are going to connect the our member function, that is multiply. So we have declared already two different parameters, right? Multi m1 and multi m2. So before getting into this member function, let me write my main function. So in my main function first, I have to pass two different objects, right? So before that I have to create it, right? So I am creating three different objects, m1, m2 and m3. So what I will be doing in this, guys, in m1, a and b values will be stored, right? For example, let me take show you. So here, for example, if you say this is a, my a value would be, for example, 10, and my b value would be, for example, 1. So I have stored a value, right? If I want to store a now b value, so this data is stored in a stack memory. Now another I'm storing, for example, in b object I'll be storing 1, and b value would be my 10. So what I'm going to perform is I'm going to multiply these two, I mean a and this a, I mean multi dot m into multi dot b. Okay, I mean m1 a dot m2 dot b. Okay, I'll be discussing that. So what would be the our output, final output? So this is our another c, I mean c means our m3. So our output would be the a equals to 10 and b equals to 10. Passing these parameters, right? So for that, so let me increase it more. I'm going to multiply to this, and I'm going to get the values as here 10 and 20. So this is my m1, I mean object 1, and this is my object 2, and this is my object 3. So I'm going to multiply two objects and storing into m3. I'm going to return m3. So first I'm reading m1 dot get, m1 dot get, okay, m2 dot get. So we have read two different values in our m1 and m2. So that is 10 and 10, 10 and 1, and 1 and 10 I have read it. So after that I have to pass the parameters, right? So for that m1 dot, what is a function name? Multiply, right? So multiply, in that I am going to share m2. Okay, because I have to multiply two different values from m1 and m2, right? So m1, okay, only one is necessary. Okay, m2. Okay, I have shared m2 into our member function, right? Sorry, yes, member function. So for example, multi m3, I'm declaring again here. So this is our new m3 object. Here what I'm doing is m3 dot in a, I'll be storing a into our m2 dot a. So why I'm not using m1 dot a is because it is already passed by with the help of m1, right? Because we don't need to call again m1 dot a, because it is implicitly converting our m1 value direct. It is directly taking our a value. If we want to access m2 of a, so with the help of dot operator, for example m2 dot a, we are going to get the value of a. So that's why. And for m3 dot b, I'll be printing md into m2 dot b. So after that I have to simply return m3. Okay, and I'm going to receive it, right? So multi m3 equals to, I'll be removing from here, no need for double time. Multi m3 equals to m1 dot multiply. So I'll be printing, so I'm not writing printing, right? Void put function with the help of put function, see out the values of a and b are. See out a equals to, and see out b equals to. Okay, let's run this. New 6. Okay, everything is fine. So I'm entering the a and b values. So here we have discussed, I'll be sharing uh, 10 and 1, right? 10 and 1 is a first object, uh, and again I'm passing 10, 1 and 10. So our output would be the 10 into, sorry, our output would be the 10 and 1, right? What happened here? Return M3 is perfect. Alright, sorry. After the multiplication, I'm not calling the function, right? So M3 dot put function. Okay, 10 and 1, and then 1 and 10. Our output would be 10 and 10. So multiplication of 10 into 1 and then 1 into 10, 10. So how we are going to that's how we are going to get the values of objective parameters, and how we have sent the objective parameters, I mean into the with the help of parameters. Here we have shared it, right? So that's it for a video. Let's meet on next video. In that video I'll be discussing more about constructors, destructors, and polymorphism concepts. So that's it for video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.